situation currently taking place in Myanmar is abominable. There is no safety anywhere, and the world has all but turned its back on an entire people trying to claim their freedom and insist upon their human rights in the face of blatant evil and inhumanity. International media seems to have moved on to the next story, scarcely reporting on this one anymore, even as the horror continues. We at Insight Myanmar Podcast find this intolerable, and we stand behind the Burmese people in their courageous effort to live in dignity. This platform is dedicated to making sure that we keep the conversation going, while ensuring these voices continue to be heard. Today's guest is one of those voices, and I invite you to settle in and open up to what follows.
My guest today is a former police officer who has joined the CDM, has fled Myanmar along with his family, and currently resides in Japan, from where he continues to advocate for his fellow police officers to reject the military dictatorship, to join the CDM, and to likewise stand on the side of freedom and democracy. So I am very privileged to welcome Kyaw San Han to our podcast. And Kyaw, if you would like to introduce yourself more completely to the audience, I would invite you to do that.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this podcast. It's a great honor to speak here. So, let me introduce myself briefly. I am a former police captain, Kyaw San Han from Myanmar. I joined the CDM to stand up for democracy in Myanmar and to oppose the dictatorship in Myanmar. So my brief background is I after I experienced I survived from the Cyclone Nargis in May 2008. I wish to help civilians because I barely survived from the Cyclone Nargis, and I saw many people die in our region, ALD region. So according to the statistics, the death toll was over 100,000 people. And the military leader, they didn't do any effective rescues or any assistance to civilians. That is why I wish to be a government official to save our people, to help our civilians. Therefore, I joined the police, basic police training school in September 2008 after Cyclone Nargis. And after 6 month training in March 2009, I became a normal policeman. After that, I was selected to be an exchange police cadet at Royal Police Cadet Academy in Thailand for 4 year study, plus Thai language, about 1 year. So before I was sent to Thailand with another 3 Myanmar police officer, 3 policemen, we were promoted as a sub-lieutenant officer, 1 star. So after 4 year study with Thai police cadets, around 300 police cadets. We graduated from RPCA and we were promoted. Four Myanmar police officers were promoted as police lieutenant, 2-star. So we had 1 year job training in and around Naypyidaw, the capital city of Myanmar. After that, we were responsible for connecting with international law enforcement agency. Especially me, I was working at anti-trafficking in person division of Myanmar Police Force in Naypyidaw. So after that, I was awarded as Australia Award Scholarship for my master degree in international relations from January 2018 to December 2019. So after that, I returned Myanmar and as I work at the same division of Myanmar Police Force. So in 2020, I joined detective training school in Asin, Yangon for 6 months. So during that time, and due to the COVID outbreak, we were not allowed to go out of the CID NC, Criminal Investigation Department. So I made a pre-voting, and then I voted for NLD Party for Myanmar democracy. So at the time, my senior police officer, they threatened me not to vote for NLD Party because we are police officer. That is why NLD Party was a threat to government officials or to the military and police force. But I voted for NLD Party even there were serious risks to me and my family who live in police apartment in Naypyidaw. So after that, military coup happened on the 1st February 2021. I got some information before the military coup from my colleagues who were attending a detective training school DTS course together with me. So I wish not to happen. I wish, yeah, I didn't wish the military coup because I knew that it would be very bad for our country. But it happened. And 5 days later, Australian economic advisor, Professor Sean Turnell, was arrested in Yangon, and I involved in his case. So after DTS, I returned to Naypyidaw, and then I had to work at Anti-Trafficking in Person Division, ATIMPD in short, again. So due to my assistant to Professor Sean Turnell case, my head of division was not pleased with my action. So I was assigned to be a security team leader in Naypyidaw for around 6 months. So during the time, my colleagues, they suspected on me that I am a watermelon who left democracy and trying to support democracy. So after Professor Sean Turnell case, after my support to democracy, so I plan to take my family out of police apartment in Naypyidaw and out of Myanmar because we were in danger. So finally, my family could get visa to flee Myanmar in September 2021, and I could follow I could follow my family in May 2022. So after that, I was waiting for Professor Sean Turnell release in Thailand, and once he was released, I could free Thailand to Japan, and now I am speaking out for democracy in Myanmar and to oppose the and the junta, the dictator Min Aung Hlaing and regime in Myanmar. So I was recognized as a refugee in Japan in July 2023, and so so far I am collaborating with NUG in Japan to stop to end the dictatorship in Myanmar. So this is about me briefly from the beginning how I became a policeman and why I joined the CDM. Yes.
Okay. So there's quite a lot there, and I want to follow up. The first is that you use the phrase watermelon, and it's a lovely phrase. Um, I think that some of our listeners might not be familiar with the phrase watermelon and what it means. So can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. So watermelon has two colors, green outside and red inside. So green represents to the military backed party, USDP, or military uniform color. So green means military or and dictatorship in Myanmar. So red represents to democracy. So for watermelon, which means government officials who love democracy, support democracy inside, but it's difficult to show to public because of fear to ourselves and to our family. So being a watermelon in the organization, especially in the military or in police organization, is very dangerous. So when the chief of police or the military leader found out that I am a watermelon, so they arrest me immediately and torture to death, being a betrayer to them, being an enemy to them. So it is very difficult, sorry, very sensitive uh, word to government officials. We are so afraid of uh, naming watermelon by our head of division or chief of police. Yeah, but for Myanmar people, they love watermelon because watermelon can take sensitive document and confidential document to the media, to public, so to help democracy, to help Myanmar people. So for people of Myanmar, watermelon is a hero name. So we are proud of being watermelon.
Excellent. And one thing that you said, really surprised me. So you said that you were threatened not to vote for the NLD. Now, that's surprising to me because my understanding is that in Myanmar, voting is done secretly. And so there is no way for anyone to know if you voted for the NLD or if you voted for the USDP. So why were you afraid of punishment?
So before the election, the military leaders they try to use every possible ways not to let the military personnel or the policemen vote freely with their own wish. So they use the fear, they use the order um, to threaten policemen and military personnel not to vote for another party. So including, so it will be very dangerous to us and to our family. So they can check it later. So they threaten us that they can check it later who we voted for. So before 2020 election, so in 2015 or previous elections, the gender leaders they control the government officials' votes. They especially military and police organization officers. That is why we fear to vote for another party for the democracy. But finally, I decided to vote for another party because I believe that another party can make our democracy stronger and can contribute our country development. As a police officer, so I voted for another party. Even yeah, my senior officer threatened me before the election. So they threatened all of us, all of the trainees in the classroom. So I believe that any party they won't how can I say they won't give our votes to military to check that these police officer voted for LNT because it will be very dangerous to me and my family. So I believe in another party. So I give my vote to another party as a police officer.
So I just want to clarify. So at the time that you are voting, when you are filling in the paper, nobody is watching you. Nobody is spying on you actually completing the voting paper. It's later on that you're afraid that they're going to open the ballot and check.
Yeah, when I was voting, so it is individual booth. So yeah, no one was watching us. So we give our vote, but it was a pre-vote, so they can check our vote later. Because I was in Yangon and my voting area is in Naypyidaw, so they took my vote, sent back to Naypyidaw, and then yeah, so the election commission they can check my vote, but even their my name was not written on the vote, but they can check that I am the only one who voted for that election area because I was away from Naypyidaw. I was in insane CID, so just one, only me who voted for that Naypyidaw city, yeah, for another party. So it was very easy to check my vote and then take action to me by the agenda leaders. But after the election, so my votes, I think, were destroyed. So they could not check my votes. Yeah. So that is why, yeah, I was safe and by the election votes, election, yeah, matter, election case. But there were another cases which I was so worried about my safety and my family safety, such as Professor Sean Turnell case and yeah, my duty team leader yeah case.
So, and another thing that comes up to me, like you said that you were motivated to join the police after Cyclone Nargis in 2008.
Yes,
Now,
yes,
not only and you say you come from Ajawadi, which
yes,
was horrifically damaged by the cyclone. It's very, very brutal. 2008, not only did the regime at the time not help the people. In fact, they temporarily changed the exchange rate of the chat to 6 chat to the US dollar in order to extract money from international aid. But also, 2008 was the year that the military held a referendum on the constitution. And it was like 98% approval or 97% approval, something unbelievable. But I happen to know that the military also controls the police force. So I want to understand what was your thinking back in 2008, some 26 years ago. What was your thinking? Did you believe that the police were separate from the military and would behave in a better way? Or were you hoping that you could change things internally? Or did you just believe back in 2008 that the military was not as evil as we know they are today?
yes. Firstly, Myanmar police force was controlled by the military always since the past until now. So the image of Myanmar police force is really bad. So the Myanmar civilians never trust police force and military. So whenever there is an election, the military always lost. So they wanted to make their own constitution, to make their own game to win the election. So in 2008, so there were many weather forecast experts who went about Nargis cyclone. So it would be very dangerous, very strong cyclone to LLD region. But the military leaders, the general leaders, they didn't pay attention with Cyclone Nargis. Instead, they pay attention on their constitution. One, I realized about this later that they use Cyclone Nargis as a tool to make people suffer from the natural disaster. So people cannot judge their constitution. So people cannot pay attention with 2008 constitution. So they can act, they can make their constitution legal easily. So that gender leaders ignore to save or ignore to give serious warning to the civilian. So my family, also my family were victims by the Cyclone Nargis. So I barely survived in a small village where I was away from my family. So my family thought that I died in Cyclone Nargis like others. So I could return my home city after 3 days. So we didn't receive any international aid or any assistance from the gender leaders. So finally, they told us 2008 constitution was agreed by the majority of Myanmar people, but we didn't even know about that. We suffer from the cyclone Nargis, and then we could not reset it. We could not recover our lives. So after that, so just I was just around 18 years old. So I wanted to help these people as much as I could. So I wanted to be a government official to use the law, to use using law to help people, and then to change the organization from inside. So at the time there was a recruiter who recruited young people to join the police force. So I was recruited by that man, and I had to join the basic police training school for 6 months. So in the police training, we were brainwashed about the politics, about uh, serving the civilians. So we were trained with fear to obey the orders from our senior officer. We could not judge or we could not question about their orders. So even the order was not fair, we had to do it. We have to obey this. So many human rights violations happen in the police training school. So once we finished our police training school, these policemen became a bad policeman to not to help civilians. Instead, they trouble civilians. They took advantages from the civilians. So I was so disappointed by the police training school or by the mindset of the senior police officer. So later I knew that they were transferred from military. So they took military mindset to police force. So that is why I always wanted to change my police force mindset from inside as much as I could. So I tried to educate myself. So the more I educated, the more I could change my organization better and more effectively. So that is why try I tried to study abroad in Thailand and in Australia.
So I think this is a very important question because it it speaks to the, as you say, the mindset, the mentality of the police. Can you explain to us a little bit about the training? Because, here in the West, police training is different in every country, but sometimes it's long training, sometimes it's a short training. In Norway, becoming a police officer is 3 years at it's a university degree to become a police officer. In some countries, it's only a few months of training, but the idea is that the training that the police receive is supposed to be conducted professionally. The police academy is meant to train you to be healthy, fit, to understand the law, and to be able to act in a dangerous situation in a way that will be safe, and helpful. It seems that the police training in Myanmar is very aggressive. Is From how you've described it to me in the past, I would even say it sounds abusive. So can you walk us through? Because you said you did 6 months police training. What is police training? Like, are you living there? Do you travel there every day? How many hours are you training? Are you in a classroom? Are you training in the field? Is it physical exercise? How are you treated by your senior officers? What are you being taught? All of these sorts of things. Can you explain to us the training?
Yes. So, firstly, I would like to explain about the police training school in Myanmar. So, there is no police academy in Myanmar because military leaders, so they never wish to improve police organization in Myanmar. So, police force is always junior organization for military. So military academy, okay, there is a DSA, a Defense Service Academy, but no police academy, just police training school and officer police training school. So for basic police training school is a 6 months course, and officer police training school is 1 year course. So for me, I had to join basic police training school because I just finished high school. So I was waiting to study at the university, but the recruiter told me that I should join basic police training school first. So after being a policeman, so I can continue my university, and after graduation, I can go to the officer training school. And he also guaranteed me to uh, to get the leave to my study in October 2008 because my university first year started in October 2008. But he ordered me to join in September 2008 the basic police training school. So I didn't get leave to study my first year. So I had to postpone my first year study. So this is first human rights violation that he gave me a false hope, a false information, so to recruit a new policeman. So when I entered the basic police training school, I saw many young men. Some people were very young, another 18 years old. I was also under 18 years old when I joined the basic police training school. So they didn't care about the uh, 18 years old age. So they just want to get a recruiter, a new policeman to join the police training school. And even in the school, the food we ate, the accommodation, everything were very bad. It was like a prison. So we could not go out. We were not allowed to go out. And they used the physical abuse to train us. So I got hit many times on my cheek. I got slammed on my cheek, or I got hit on my hip with a long bamboo stick. So I'm crying there. My parents didn't hit me like that, but the trainers, they hit me hardly, strongly, and it was hard. So every trainees got that serious punishment. So we fear as a teenagers. So we fear the trainers. So we obey their orders, and they make money from us as much as they could. So so many human rights violations started from the police training school. So we learn laws, but these laws we have learned to use as a tool to make money from the civilians, to trouble civilians. So after the police training school, the senior police officer, they were from military. So they use the order to control us, what to do for them. So policeman or police officer, we were used by the military completely. So that is why the real police, the real policeman or the real police officer, we didn't like the military officer or police officer who transfer from military. So they don't even know any law or regulations about the police. So they just use the order to get what they want from the civilians. So that is why the image of police force never good for to the civilians, to the Myanmar people.
So I want to go back. You said that the trainers made money from you. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, so simply they just ask money from me. Like if you don't give me money, I will give you punishment. So something like I have to run around the building, I have to push up 100 times, I have to uh, do a lot of cleaning, the dirty toilets. So they order me everything as long as I don't give money to them. So when my family came to the police training school, so my family gave me food and money. So they had to hide that money inside the food to give me. Because if the trainers they found out that I received the money, they took all of them. Since we enter the basic training school, they search everything we brought from our home. They told us these equipment, these stuff could not be used in the training school. So they took all of them and they didn't return to us. They used our stuff. So not just money, but also our belongings. The trainers, they took them, they used them. And if they don't get what they want, they use the punishments as a tool to control, to fear us. So finally, I was so tired, I was so hard. So I gave my money to the trainers not to hurt me again. So one, once they get a little bit money from us, they want more and more. So that is very human rights violations. And I was so disappointed. The training I received in the police training.
But this
So
is
it
like,
was not professional.
well, yeah, but not just not professional. I mean, this sounds like, you know, a high school bully in a bad 1980s movie, or I've heard people who have gone to prison. They've described their lives in prison, and what they're talking about in prison sounds exactly like what you're saying. The people who are in a higher position will come to you and they will say, you have to give me money, or you have to give me commissary, you have to give me, you know, food, cigarettes, whatever, and if you don't, you have to work for me or I will beat you. Like, this is not just not professional. This is like a prison.
Yes,
It's perverse.
absolutely. That is why I mentioned the word prison. So when I joined the basic police training school for 6 months, I felt like I was in the prison for 6 months.
And it because of some work that I did, I actually was in Naypyidaw some years before the coup. I was in Naypyidaw and I was working with the police in Naypyidaw, and I saw the the barracks of the police, the conditions in which they were living. And these were not even cadets. These were actual police officers. They had already become members of the police. And where they were staying was it was horrific. Like it would not even be good enough to be a military barrack. It was parts of the building were collapsing. They didn't have heating. They didn't have air conditioning. They barely had electricity. They didn't have running water. Like some of the most horrible conditions that I would not imagine any government expecting their people to live in. And this was considered to be normal. So uh, I've heard these things, I've seen these things, but the way that you describe it just makes it even worse than what I saw. And so the question that I have to you is, did you feel your mentality changing? Did going through that 6 months of police training, of abuse, did that make you angrier? Did that make you want to hurt other people or want to abuse your power? Like you seem to say other members of the police training changed. Or did you manage to stay strong? Did you manage to reject these desires for revenge, these desires for power? Did you feel that you came out of that experience without changing as a person?
So for me, yeah, before I joined the police training school, I was suffer from the Nargis cyclone. So I really wish to have civilians. So after the police training school, yeah, I felt so disappointed, but it taught me to change the police mindset as much as I could. So some of my friends, they changed their mindset that, oh, okay, after the police training school, they had power. So they became a policeman at police station, so they can take advantages from the civilians because they suffer from the police training school by the trainers. But for me, I knew that I have to save the civilians, so I could not change as an evil, which they wanted to me to they wanted me to be like that. So they brainwash us to make advantages from the civilians to have corruption. So the junta leaders made police force very bad, live in a bad condition. So we have to make money from the civilians. So so we became, how can I say, we became uh, a bad organization like military. So that is what junta leader wants police force to be. So for me, I try to educate myself to be police officer as quickly as possible. So once I became a police officer, I could change the police man mindset more than before. So I try to finish my university and try to, uh, yeah, I try to be a police officer. But I was lucky that I could study at Ryan Police Academy (RPCA) in Thailand. So I felt like Ryan Police Academy in Thailand was great. So they trained us to be a good police officer to serve the civilians. So that is what I want to attend. That is the police academy I wanted to attend. What I expected to be a professional police officer. So after attending 4 years at RPCA, so I realized that the leaders, the military leaders, so they never wanted Myanmar Police Force be a professional organization. So the big difference between Myanmar police force and Thai police. So I understood clearly. So I never changed my mindset to help civilians and so to be a professional police officer. But a lot of policemen, they had bad mindset by the police training school. Once they came to power, they used that power, yeah, to travel civilians. The more people travel, the more they can have corruption.
Mm. So the question then is, why do you think the military did this? I mean, the military themselves, the soldiers themselves, tend to be segregated, isolated away from civilians, right? They live on their military bases, they go to separate schools, they go to separate hospitals. They are kept away from civilians. But the police live among civilians. They work among civilians. What is the advantage to the military dictatorship if the people do not trust the police, if the police are just terrorizing the civilians regularly? Why do you think the military did not want there to be a professional police force?
So firstly, in Myanmar, military is the strongest institution. So police force is another armed organization. So we can use gun in our duty. So on our duty, we can use gun, and we were trained by the weapons. So once there is something like demonstration or protester, so military they has to use police force to crack down the protest group, to arrest the protester or to investigate them. So they always wanted to control the police force. So in the past, in 1988, there was 8888 uprising. So many policemen they stood up with the civilians. So the military also worried that if police stand with civilians, it will be a threat to military too. So many military officers they transfer to police organization, and they got a higher rank, a higher position. So they give order to junior police officer. Even they don't know about the law, they don't know about the policing. So finally, the image of police is not good to the civilian. So military always want to separate police organization from the civilians, so they can use police force easily and more effectively. So they never wanted to improve or to upgrade the police force. Even the accommodation or the salary or the rank. So police officer who came from police training school, they get very slow rank. It is very difficult to get a higher rank for the real policeman.
So, okay, so let's fast forward then, because you've painted an image of the police force across Myanmar as being abused by the military, being mistreated, underfunded, under rewarded, and driving the police towards corruption and abuse of the people, which is a pretty terrible situation. So if we fast forward to 2021, when the coup happens, what what was the response of the police? Because we saw many different responses. You know, police in all parts of Myanmar wanted to control the protesters, but there seem to be very different reactions from different regions of Myanmar with regards to what the police did, how the police felt, and what their opinion was on the coup. From within the police force, what can you tell us from what you were seeing and what you were hearing from your fellow officers?
So before the coup, I could say that many policemen, police officers, they are not satisfied with the with the military or the uh, police officer who transfer from the military. But due to the fear, they could not do anything. So after the coup, so in the beginning of the coup, some policemen they wished to oppose the gender. So they wish to stand up for the democracy. However, the gender leaders they took serious action to these policemen, arresting policemen, including their family, even senior police officer who criticized the gender of the military coup, they were arrested. That is why after the military coup, when these kind of cases happen, many policemen they could not dare to stand up for democracy. They could not join the CDM to oppose the gender. So the fear is the main weapon that used by the gender leader Min Aung Hlaing and regime. So policemen they are afraid of and they are worried about their safety and their family safety. So even they wish to stand up for democracy, but they don't dare, even now. So inside, they might have some democracy mindset. They knew that the gender is bad, the military coup was not fair, but they could not do anything, just go along with the gender leader order. So some good policemen, they joined the CDM and now they disappear. Some were arrested or some were in border areas. So they even now they don't dare to show up on the social media or everywhere. So they are in fear. So that is why I plan everything confidentially to take my family out of police apartment in Naypyidaw because they were under surveillance by my head of division in Naypyidaw. And then I had to secretly out of leave Myanmar. So otherwise, so since the military coup happened, my head of police, head of division, seriously threatened to me and my family that if we stand up for democracy, if we join CDM and oppose the gender, we will be arrested quickly, easily, and we will get killed in the prison. So that fear was very um, serious, very big to us, not to oppose the gender. But they could not stop me. So, yeah, because I knew that the military coup was not fair, and the leaders, the gender leaders, Min Aung Hlaing, now he had no mercy to civilians. So he is crazy for his power, to protect his power only. So as you know now, just recently, so Myanmar gender declares that uh, military service laws is now uh, came to enforce. So every young person in Myanmar must serve for the military. So that is very ridiculous. So now
Mm.
he is using all civilians to protect for him. Yeah, not for the country.
Although so there are a couple of really important points. The first is that okay, yeah, 2 days ago, at time of recording, the military announced a mandatory conscription measure that, in theory, because they will argue that the nation is in a state of emergency, can call up all male civilians. I think also some female, but all male civilians from what was it, the age of 18 to 35 for 5 years of military service, and even older if they are engineers, if they are doctors, if they are people with a skill and a profession. However, we have seen, at least I've heard reports, that in places like Naypyidaw, they have already forced the police to become basically soldiers, and have also forced government workers from government offices to become soldiers. So the conscription law is ridiculous, as you say, but it seems that the military have been doing this for some time, forcing people to work for the military, work as soldiers, forcing people, to be police, forcing people to fight for them, to protect Min Aung Hlaing. This does not seem to be a new strategy from the military. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Um, Even when I was in Naypyidaw, I was working at uh, police headquarters and um, anti-trafficking person headquarters. So there were many trainees for the family of policemen. So to train with arms, with weapons. So in case of emergency, like right now, so they had planned already. If they lose their soldiers, their police a lot, so they will use the families of the military personnel and policemen first. So after that, if that is not enough, they still lose uh, their manpower. They still lose their personnel. So they will use civilians as next step, maybe final step, because Min Aung Hlaing doesn't care how many lives would be died, would be dead for his crazy, because he just want to, he just don't want to lose his power. So he has many plans. So all of his plans trouble civilians, make make a lot of people die by his madness on the power. So yeah, so especially the families of police force or military personnel, they were already trained buying the weapons, buying the yeah guns. So now it is not enough. That is why next strategy is to use civilians to fight each other. So Min Aung Hlaing made civilians fight each other and made tragedy between civilians. So it will be a very comprehensive civil war in the country. So not just between military personnel, police force, and ethnic armed groups or PDF, but also between civilians. It will be very bad
So,
to all of Myanmar people.
so another question that I have, based on something that you said that when after the coup, they knew that you were a watermelon, your superior said that you would be arrested and that you would be killed in prison. Now, that's a very serious threat. My question is, do you believe that the police, not just putting you in prison and some other criminal will kill you because they're a criminal, do you believe that the police themselves would put you, or would put a watermelon in prison and would murder you in that prison? Is that a real thing?
Yes, it is, because there were already many cases like me who were watermelon. They were arrested, and now some they were killed in the prison, and their families sometimes they could not even get the dead body because the the police organization afraid that if the dead body was given to the family, so they would take pictures of the dead body and that picture would go viral on the social media. So it will be a very bad image uh, to the Myanmar police force controlled by the military. So the head of division or the chief of police, so whenever they give serious threats, they made it happen because they they were so, how can I say, cruel. So even now you might see some news that even civilians who stand up for democracy, they got arrested and got killed in the prison with any excuse. And then the dead body, yeah, were given later if the condition is good. But if the dead body condition is bad, they won't give. So for police officer and military personnel, so we were trained to serve for the gender. So they felt furious when we oppose the gender. So we got more punishment, more torture to death than civilians. So that is why it was my greater fear that could, if I got the, if I got arrested, so I will also get tortured to death, including my family. So that is why after I saved Professor Sean Turnell's life in the CID integration room, so I told my family that we have to escape from the police apartment in Naypyidaw and we have to flee Myanmar because once my head of police or my chief of police knew about me, we were done in Myanmar. So our news would disappear quietly in the prison. So that is why I had to plan everything confidentially. So if my head of police knew that I trying to take my family out of police apartment or out of Myanmar, they will surely arrest me and torture to death as its enemy. So now I became their enemy, and my family also as an obvious target to arrest, even not in Myanmar, because they arrest family as a hostage to get the wanted military personnel or police officer back to Myanmar to give punishment. Therefore, now I am requesting Australian government to save my family to Australia because currently my family is in Thailand, and as you know, many police officers now 7 Myanmar police officers who graduated from RPCA and another 4 are currently attending RPCA. So there is a strong cooperation between Myanmar police force and Ryan Thai police. And another important thing is if my family get killed in Thailand, for example, there will be someone sent by the gender take my family or kill my family in Thailand and they return to Myanmar. So no one arrests that criminals. So at the moment, law enforcement in Myanmar is very bad, especially killing to the PDF or killing to the democracy level. It is very easy, and no police arrest these criminals. So yeah, even now my family is under threat by the pro-military Telegram channels. You might know Hanyeu Joshua Telegram channels. So they knew about me. So they announced, they urged the Myanmar police force to arrest my family, even they are abroad. So if they get my family, they get me. So yeah, these human rights violations, they are not gentlemen, they are bad guys. That is why this is the end game to to end the dictatorship in Myanmar because they are not professional. They had no mercy to civilians.
But so this is just, I want to go back. I want to clarify this. When you were there, when you were still working in CID, Did you hear any of the police talking about or planning um, or or anything like this, torturing and killing protesters? Was it something that you saw people, or you heard people planning or discussing, or something that you knew people were doing, or was it more of a vague rumor that you heard from other places?
So yeah, for me, when I was attending detective training school in CID in Yangon, so my accommodation was just behind the CID main building. So that building has many rooms. So after the military coup, the CID police officer they arrested some uh, high-level protester, and they took these people to CID, and they investigate, they torture, and I heard the scream when I was just behind the CID main building. So the the pain, their voice with pain, you know. Also, how can I say? It's very loud sometimes. Once I became the first interpreter for the Professor Sean Turnell, so I could access to the CID main building. So I passed these rooms. So that rooms were closed completely. I could not see inside, but I heard their screams with the pain and fear. So, and I saw the Professor Sean Turnell's um, condition in the inauguration room, very small and very uncomfortable. So even Professor Sean Turnell, they try to torture him to investigate, to get sensitive information from the professor. So I didn't. Um, so I told the inauguration team that not to torture Professor Sean Turnell. Even I was a trainee, but I was a police captain at the time. So the police officer, they didn't torture the Professor Sean Turnell, but they tried to uh, make Professor Sean Turnell disappointed, upset, or feel tired. So as much as they could, they fear Professor Sean Turnell in many ways, both uh, physically and mentally. So he didn't receive enough food, good food, or good toilet. So I managed everything in background to save Professor Sean Turnell's life. And the inauguration team, so they discussed in the team that once we had enough sensitive information from the professor, he could die in the inauguration room due to the COVID or due to his suicide because of the bad condition there. Because no one knew where Professor Sean Turnell was in the beginning. Even the Australian embassy in Yangon didn't know where he was. So everything was confidential. So Professor Sean Turnell was VVIP, very important person to charge our state councillor, Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, and our president. So, so even Professor Sean Turnell got this kind of uh, physical and mental abuse. So after my contribution to Professor Sean Turnell, the chief of police and Min Aung Hlaing, they didn't like my report to release Professor Sean Turnell to Australia. So they replaced me with another interpreter and another interrogation team. So at the time, Professor Sean Turnell got abused by the new another interrogation team. So you can also read about this in details in his book named An Unlikely Prisoner. So it is on both ebook, and you can also buy a hard copy book on his Facebook or on the website he mentioned. So he wrote everything in details what he suffered in the CID inauguration room, and he also heard the scream by others, by other people, yeah, in the CID. So it was very cruel to 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 hear, yeah, their voice, their screams, and I even didn't know their fate in that inauguration room. They could get killed inside, and no one knew who they were and where they were taken next.
Mm. So it's a very interesting story that you tell, because as you're probably aware, we've interviewed Professor Sean Turnell quite a few times on this channel. We've had the privilege of speaking to him, and it is very rare for us that our guests know each other. And it's a fascinating insight. I think most of our audience would probably be familiar with Professor Turnell and with his writings and his interviews. Um, is quite well known, especially after the coup. And I know that he has written about you specifically in his book. And I, as we were preparing for this interview, I actually reached out to Professor Turnell to ask about his memories of you and your interactions in Insane, and he had nothing but wonderful things to say about you, and nothing but gratitude for everything that you did for him. Uh, so it's it's such a remarkable coincidence. And what I want to ask first about this story is, this was in CID Insane. So this is the Criminal Investigation Department in Insane. So let's clarify, because I think for most of our audience, when they think of Insane, they think of Insane prison. Very famous political prison. Is CID Insane connected to Insane prison, or is it separate?
So it is nearby the
Hmm.
insane prison. Yeah, so not far from the insane prison.
Okay, but it is a different facility.
Yes, so it is separated.
Okay, and CID, the Criminal Investigation Department, what do they actually do?
So before military coup, CID was famous for investigating the national level crimes, very difficult crimes that police station, the investigator at police station could not uh, investigate. So CID had its reputation among the policemen, police officer. But after the military coup, CID was ordered to focus on the political, the political protester. So the political cases. So the VIP were taken to the CID and were investigated in their inauguration room. So nowadays, CID and SB special branch or military intelligence. So they were used by the gender leaders Min Aung Hlaing directly to get sensitive information from those important VIP. So when I was the first interpreter for Professor Sean Turnell, they also gave me Professor Turnell book to take sensitive information from his book to arrest more people regarding to his case. So they will make a comprehensive, a strong lawsuit, a strong charge, yeah, to put him in prison and to to charge Aung San Suu Kyi and our president. So I told them that there was nothing wrong with his diary book. That is just normal diary book. So they didn't believe me. So they didn't give me his uh, electrical devices. So they use another police officer, like cyber crimes police officer, to take sensitive information out of his electrical devices. So something like that. Now, so there are many police organizations, divisions in Myanmar. But all of these were used by the military, the junta leaders, for the political cases only. So that is
Interesting.
why, yeah, that
So
is why,
he
yeah,
says this is high level stuff here.
high
Like this
level.
is not normal crimes. This is for they were trying to go after Professor Turnell for what, for treason or something like this.
So mainly they want to find excuses to charge our state councillor, Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, and our president. So Professor was the main economic advisors to the Aung San Suu Kyi, to our state councillor, Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, or we call Amesu, so like our mother. So Professor plays a very important role to charge our state councillor, Daw Aung San Suu Kyi. So that is why he, Min Aung Hlaing, didn't release him as soon as possible, even he had no mistakes. So in the beginning, I knew that he was unfairly arrested, unfairly put in interrogation room and in the prison, nearly around, sorry, for 650 days. And then, yeah, he could not survive there due to the bad condition, bad accommodation, food, and he could suicide himself because of, yeah, the disappointment, disappointed or everything. Yeah, so that is what Jana Min Aung Hlaing's plan to make it happen. But finally, due to the international pressure, due to the request from the Australian government, so finally, Min Aung Hlaing thought that Professor Sean Turnell would not speak out after his release to Australia. He would be quiet. That is what Min Aung Hlaing wanted. But yeah, Professor Sean Turnell speak out a lot about the brutality of Min Aung Hlaing. So now Professor Sean Turnell is also under arrest by the Min Aung Hlaing. So that is ridiculous, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so when you were brought into CID to interpret and to check the diary, did you already know who Sean Turnell is, or was this your first time finding out about this person?
No, it was like I didn't know about him. So firstly, after military coup, I wish that he is not in Myanmar, because if he is in Myanmar, he would be arrested too. Because many, high level our democratic leaders were arrested. So at at the time, I was taken out of the CID to the Tamil police station, and then I saw him in the Tamil police station, surrounded by Myanmar police force, a Myanmar policeman, Myanmar police officer. I was so shocked. So I didn't expect to see him like that condition. He is the one who I respect. So he contributed our country a lot. He is a gentleman. He is very kind, but he is arrested like that. So one on the way back to CID, I was thinking that how I could help him. So he could return to Australia as quickly as possible to reunion with his family, because I knew that he could not survive in CID interrogation room due to the COVID or due to the interrogation style, very brutal. So when we arrived back to CID, I tried to warn him that, Professor, please do not say any sensitive information to the integration team, because they are. So they told me to ask sensitive information from Professor to charge him and then to put him in the prison. And maybe he could get killed after we have enough information. So I was so shocked. Why? What for? Because if he is still alive, he would speak out about his arrest later. So So there are so many like sensitive, confidential orders in the inauguration team. So that is why I want Professor Sean Turnell, secretly, that please be careful with your answers, because you will get charged and put in prison because of your answer. And I secretly took his picture on CCTV camera, and I saved his picture and kept his picture for years until his release, until I could recover that picture from my phone, because I put his picture in my safe box, safe in phone with password. Otherwise, if someone found out that I have his picture, I took his picture, I will get arrested and get killed in a prison, being a betrayer to the gender.
So I was just wondering, like you say he was on CCTV. Was there a camera in the interrogation room itself?
Yes, so there was a camera on in the inauguration room. So whatever we speak, it was recorded by the CCTV camera outside.
So there's a
So
microphone as well.
I think yes. So there is a CCTV, and then I think they can hear what we speak inside. So there is one, no window, but just like a mirror. So the officer, they can see us from outside. They can hear us. So something like inauguration room, So for criminals. So but you know it was a very small room. So that picture you can see in his book. So I took that picture, and that I could send him. Yeah. So he mentioned me with that picture and my picture in his book.
So so this is important then, because when you told him to be careful with his answers and to not give incriminating information, it sounds to me like it is almost certain that the other police, your superiors, and the military would have a recording of you saying this. Do you think that they know that you told him to not reveal information?
Yeah, at the time I was so afraid of warning him like that, but it was the beginning of the inauguration. So once he was in the box, so he mentioned that that is the box, very small room. So just before the inauguration, team leader was taking the questions, the question sheet. So I told him quietly, secretly. So that is why, so no one's noticed that what we were talking about. So firstly, I mentioned that who I am, and I graduated from the Flinders University. I received Australia Award scholarship supported by the Australian government. So after that, I warned him quietly, secretly. So I was lucky that no police officer could understand English. That is what, yeah, I felt a little bit confident to warn him. So I was the only one who could speak English at the time.
The only one in CID.
Yes, I would say yes. Because at the time, the CID police officer, so they can speak English a little bit maybe, but at the time when we had investigation integration with professor, so I was just the interpreter, and I was only could understand English well.
And this, I mean, this is incredible. And so going back a little bit as well, we have a map that you sent from Google Images highlighting your accommodation behind the CID building and the CID building itself. And you said, and we'll try to put this image up um, on this underneath the episode so people can compare it. But you said that you could hear the screams and the cries of the people who the protesters who were being tortured in the CID building. Your dormitory was across a quadrangle from the CID building with many trees between your dormitory and the CID building. It seems like a sound would have to be very loud for you to be able to hear it from your dormitory. Um, did you feel that you could hear clearly what was happening in the CID building? Was it loud enough for you?
So when I was in CID, so sometimes, so I was on duty, something like I am the only one who responsible for checking every points in CID. So it is on duty, and then so just behind my accommodation, so you might see trees, but just beside trees there is something like a football court, a not tennis, basketball court. So we had our regular exercise there. So just behind the CID main building, so there is a gap. So a
Yeah, I
big,
see that.
yeah, yeah. So
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
was there. So
Ah,
at night it is dark there. So not in my accommodation, but behind my accommodation, behind the CNE building. So I was there to check what is happening in the main building. I was curious why trainees cannot access that building because that is confidential. So we are not allowed to pass or to go inside the CND main building. So being a duty, I was on duty, so I was so curious, and I was a police captain. That is why no one, they didn't want to, how to stop me, yeah, to go somewhere. So I could, yeah, go near to the CND building, and I could hear their screams.
interesting.
Yeah, but not in
And
my accommodation, behind my accommodation. Yeah,
this is unrelated. I'm just looking at the Google Map image that you sent, and I just noticed that the map has actually labeled beside the DTS building, um, Mazar Gonya. There's a little shop to sell betel nut. I just find it very amusing that is on the map. But we'll share that image so people can see it because it's a very clear picture
yeah.
that this paints.
So
And yeah,
especially, yeah, the CID main building picture is not, it is confidential. It is not on the social media. So we are very restricted not to take picture inside, especially the CID main building. So they have very sensitive information or very sensitive, things inside. So we are not to take picture. So you cannot find that picture on the website. And then, of course, even I speak out about Professor Sean Turnell or about the CID, the chief of police, the gender leader. So they are really angry at me because I give official document or official information to the media or to the world. So to let the world know that what is really happening in Myanmar, how gender male life brutal. So this is kind of official, secret leak, official secret act. Yeah, I will be, arrested by the gender male line and regime, like Professor Sean Turnell. So he was charged by that law, official secret, act.
and
Yeah,
so the other part of that we haven't spoken about yet, the salt in the wound, as we would say, is not just that you quote unquote betrayed, the military, lying and all that sort of stuff, but you just mentioned you were a police captain, which is a considerable rank. And if I recall correctly from our discussion the other day, you because you went to Thailand and you studied in the RPCA, you actually were promoted to captain before you completed your training in Myanmar. You were the first, if I remember correctly, the first police officer to achieve this rank without actually completing that training. Is that true?
yeah. So I would like to explain from the beginning. So the police cadet exchange program between Myanmar Police Force (MPT) and Ryan Time Police (RPT) RTP. So it was the first program between two countries. So the first class for Myanmar police officer were very special. So they expected on us, to have to improve our bilateral cooperation between two police forces. So the chief of police, the minister of Ministry of Home Affairs in Myanmar, guaranteed us that we will get a faster rank, a quicker promotion than other Myanmar police officer. Because in Thailand, Thai police officer who complete Ryan Police Cadet Academy (RBCA), they also get, you know, uh, their rank uh, goes up time by time, so they get higher rank year by year. So compared to Myanmar police force, so a higher rank is very difficult for real Myanmar police officer. But for four of us, we got first promotion before we joined RBCA, and just after just completing RBCA, we got another rank, 2 star. So after 3 years, so we will get another rank, which is police captain. But in 2018, I was in Australia for my master degree in international relations. That is why my promotion was postponed. And my head of division was not confident on me that I had a democracy mindset. I am not with their side. So they didn't uh, give me that promotion. But when I returned Myanmar, of course, my friends, they became police captain in 2018. So when I returned Myanmar, so in 2020, I became a police captain on the 1st October 2020 because it is Myanmar Police Force Day. So to be police captain, the 2 star police officer must pass the DTS, Detective Training School. But for me, I was attending that training course for 6 months and I became a police captain during the training course. So I became a police captain before 30 years old and before my completion of training course. So it is very rare and that it is the first in Myanmar police history who has such qualifications. And then, yeah, the police, the head of training school of CIDSA, so now he also criticized Min Aung Hlaing on Facebook and he was arrested and he is in the prison so far, unfortunately. The one who put 3 stars on my shoulders in DTS CID insane.
I'm curious. Do you have an opinion of him, the person who promoted you? Did you have a different opinion of him on the day that he promoted you and he gave you that 3rd star to the day that you saw him later in CID, or did you know that he was very pro-military from the beginning? How is your relationship with him over time?
So actually, he is a good man. He is kind and he didn't like military coup. So that is why he wanted to show up his opinion, but he was afraid of getting arrested because next year he is going to retire. So he's nearly 60 years old. So just 1 year before, finally, when he saw a video clip on Facebook that the military personnel, soldiers, they drove and they hit the protester in Yangon. So when he saw the video clip, he could not control his feeling to criticize the gender and regime. So he wrote 2 comments, and someone who saw the comments informed the chief of police, and he got arrested Even he is senior police officer, second lieutenant colonel, but now he is in the prison. And I'm very sorry to hear that. So that also fear the rest of police officer not to criticize gender Min Aung Hlaing and regime. Yeah. So that is why I knew that if I also criticize Min Aung Hlaing in Myanmar, I also get arrested. And for me, my head of division seriously threatened to me that he will kill me. That is why I want to speak out a lot more like this. That is why I had to flee Myanmar. And
So,
yeah, just uh, because of my master degree study in Australia, supported by Australian government, I could have stronger democracy mindset. I could uh, contribute to Professor Sean Turnell case, and I could stand up for democracy. Otherwise, I could not dare, to stand up for democracy like this. I could not dare to save Professor Sean Turnell's life in CID insane because my colleagues who completed RBC together now they serve for the military or they serve for the gender and regime. So now they were promoted to a higher rank for serving gender. So now they became police major. Yeah. So for me, I became their enemies. And my family also under threat by the military regime. So just me, one only, who stood up for democracy and opposed gender because I got stronger democracy mindset by the support of Australian government and I deeply appreciate that. So this is what I am proud of myself. My family also proud of me that I could contribute to democracy in Myanmar.
so what, from within the police force, it sounds like the motivation is fear. The police, as you are describing them, the police sound like they don't like the military, they don't like the coup, but they're afraid. But at the same time, I know that you've also said that many of the senior officers in the police have come directly from the military. And
Yes,
also, and this is the very important part, we have seen since the coup, we have seen police officers murdering protesters on the street. Now, yes, I know that in many cases, those were not police officers. They were military wearing a police uniform. But in some cases, we have seen police shooting protesters on the street. We have seen police beating civilians, beating protesters on the street, putting them in hospital. The question is, how many in the police truly believe in the military and truly support the military and support the coup? And how many in the police are only doing what they are doing out of fear? And very important follow up, is it possible to make these police so afraid of the military that they would be willing to go into the street and to murder the protesters to protect their own lives? What is your assessment?
so in my opinion, so since before the military coup, many policemen or police officer they didn't like the military and the gender. So especially the young police officer who had higher rank, who transferred from the military. So they just use order to control junior police officer. Even they are young, they don't care the real senior police officer or the older policeman. So if possible, if they had chance, they want to resign being a policeman. But the gender leader made orders not to resign easily and uh, not to run away. So there is a police law to prevent police being absent, or run away, or oppose the gender. So fear they always use to control police force. So after military coup, even there were many policemen who wished to resign, who wished to oppose. But as you know, now the gender leader arrested many policemen or police officer, including high-level senior police officer, are in the prison. So the rest of policemen, they don't want to take any risk to oppose the gender. So they just go along with the gender's orders, even it is not fair. So, so especially Bulgaria police force, they are responsible to control the crowd according to the international guidelines, mainly supported by the European countries, EU, to reform the police force during the democratic government. So, but whatever they tried, it was not used. So the military leaders, the gender leaders, they just give the orders to arrest the protester, to shoot the protester with the real bullets. So they just use fear to control the protester, not just uh, police or military, but also civilians. So that is why sometimes they use their military personnel to wear police uniform to shoot the protester. So it is very complicated in the organization. So as being policemen, we knew that who is the real police. So even the military soldiers is wearing police uniform, but his face, his behavior is different from the police. So we knew that, but we could not do anything. That is the order from the gender leaders. So how many people he wants, he would transfer military soldiers to police, and not just police force organization, but also other ministry, other organizations in Myanmar transfer from the military officers. So for policemen, they don't trust military, but they still fear to oppose the gender. That is why right now, after 3 years later, so good policemen, they try to CDM, they try to stand up for the democracy and the people of Myanmar. But the rest of policemen, now they don't want to take any risk to stand up for democracy and people of Myanmar. So they just go along with the gender and orders. And the minority of policemen, they also want to have more power from the gender. So now they can make more corruption from the civilians. So now the image of police force is very bad, worse than before. It is not a professional organization. So yeah, both gender. So this is just gender regime, gender control organization.
But so when we see footage, it's less these days. But when we saw the footage in 2021 of the police, beating civilians, of the police shooting civilians, we we know, as you said as well, that the police were killing people, were torturing people in the prisons. We've heard stories of the police, throwing dead bodies off of the roof and then lying and saying, oh, someone jumped off the roof when they tortured them to death. My question to you is, those police who did these things, do you believe that those police were acting because they truly believed that they were doing the right thing? Or were they acting, killing, torturing because they were afraid of the military?
So firstly, policemen were brainwashed by the gender leaders. Like, so we are protecting our country, we are protecting our religion and our people. So those who stand up for democracy are threat to our country. They are our enemies. So we got orders from our senior police officer, and the senior police officer, they got order from the gender leaders that we have to arrest these protesters. We can use any anything as we can. So they give us real bullet. They give us, weapons. They give us authority to arrest these protesters. So we can beat, we can torture them, and no checkup, no punishment. We won't receive any punishment by this action. So if we could arrest the protester, and if we could investigate another, protester, we will get promotion. So that is what they give as incentive. Yeah, so something like offer. So if we serve for the gender very well, we will get promotion easier and quicker than other police officer. So these police officer, they became very aggressive because they just want to obey the orders from the senior police officer, and they get more promotion, and they can get a good position. So maybe they can move to another police station or wherever they want, so they can become a traffic police. So some battalion policemen, they just want to be a traffic police, so they obey the senior police officer order to get that kind of, like promotion, or maybe uh, move him to another good organization, division or department. So these policemen, they had no mercy to civilians. They just want to get whatever they want. So you might see some video clips that some police officer, they beat civilians and they took civilians' belongings, not professional policeman or police officer. So for good police officer, they choose not to do like that. So if they have chance, they ignore. So for me, when I was being assigned as a security team leader, so I order my junior policeman, not to arrest protester. Just ignore them, because we don't need to arrest them, and just pretend that we don't see them. And I took the real bullet with me, so I just give them gun only for show, so they cannot shoot the protester. So that is, it depends on the leaders. So whenever we give the order, the junior policeman, they did it. So even we are not with them. If they have guns, they can shoot, because the authorities, they receive from the higher police officer. So the best way is to take bullets from them, so they cannot shoot to the protester easily, quickly. So yeah, it depends on individual, I would say. So now it is very obvious to see who is the a good police officer or who is a bad police officer by their behaviors.
But so then the question is, did you ever, because you clearly went outside during the coup, you were controlling, you were commanding your men, and you made these decisions not to give them ammunition, not to arrest protesters. Were you ever given a military officer who was supervising you, who was giving you orders, who was embedded within your unit, maybe someone who is wearing a fake uniform? Did you ever have to deal with that personally, or were you lucky enough that you never had to interact with the soldiers?
So during my security duty, so there were soldiers, military officer who also cooperate with us. So they also patrol around our checkpoints. So we are we were at standby at our checkpoints. So they came to us and they asked the security team leader, what is happening around here? Did you arrest any protester? So I always say, no, it is nothing here. So no protester around here. So they just check another checkpoints. So for me, yeah, I always ignore and I always told them that there is nothing wrong around here. So including my senior police officer. So I always report back that we didn't need to use any bullet because there was no protester. So and in Naypyidaw, so since after Myatote case, Myatote Khaing case, so there was no big protests in Naypyidaw because people they were afraid of getting shot by the security police forces. So yeah, I was fortunate that I didn't see a big crowd, a big protest group, but individual protester, I could ignore them, and I could report back that there was nothing serious or nothing. There was no protester, so it was fortunate for me and the protester too.
Mm. And so you specifically mentioned Miato Tekain. So for those who are not aware or who may have forgotten, Miato Tekain uh, generally considered to be the first martyr of the revolution, and she was shot in the head in a protest in Naypyidaw. If I remember correctly, it was the 10th of February 2021.
Yeah, 9th February.
Um, no, 9th of February, and she was put on life support. She was actually wearing a motorcycle helmet at the time, but she was put on life support. And she was declared brain dead about a week later. The the killing was actually recorded on video. It became a very famous piece of footage. The person who shot her, I have heard rumors. I wanted to check with you. Is it true that the person who shot her was actually a soldier wearing a police uniform?
So at the time, I was stay in uh, DTS CID insane in Yangon. So um, the location which that case happened, it is where I always pass to go to my office. So the vehicle, yeah, it is. So he was just behind the bus stop, but she got shot in the head, and it was not clear that who really shot her. So it could be a military soldier who wearing the police uniform because she was not in the protest group, so she was just hiding um, behind the bus stop. So she there's no way to shoot her, because it was ridiculous, to shoot like that, especially using the rear bullet was ridiculous. So there are many ways to control the protest group in peace way. That is what European Union supported Myanmar Police Force to control the crowd with the international guidelines. But you know, the military leaders, the general leaders, they gave authorities to shoot the protester because the they want to destroy the protest group. They don't want to see any image like this, especially this image went on social media, so the world can see what happened in Myanmar. So the general leader Min Aung Hlaing always wanted to show the world that the majority of Myanmar people agreed military coup. So there is no demonstration in Myanmar. So that is what he wanted to see. So he ordered the security forces to use fear as quickly as possible to destroy the protester. So that is why the junior policeman, we had motivation. The junior police officer, they had motivation by the senior police officer to shoot the protester, to arrest or to torture them, because they don't get any punishment. Instead, they get promotion. They get another incentive. for their profession, for their job. That is why, yeah, even peaceful protests, they use very, how would I say, violence to destroy the protest as quickly as possible. So once I arrived back to Naypyidaw, I saw the video clip. I knew about that. That is why I decided not to use any bullets with the protester, not to arrest any protester, and I could do that.
Because I mean, the things that we saw throughout 2021 and early 2022, I mean, those things were horrific. I mean, we've seen people who have lost arms to grenades that were thrown. We've seen children, 3 years old, killed because the police were shooting bullets into houses. The sheer irresponsible violence is difficult to even comprehend. But turning then to you, like you find yourself in this situation, you're looking around and you go, okay, this is not acceptable. I cannot be part of this. My life is under threat. My family's lives are under threat. So you escape to Thailand, but because you're in the police, you don't have a passport. So how did you manage to escape with your family?
Yes, it was very difficult for me and my family because every government official in Myanmar could not do a normal passport which can travel abroad. So we are not allowed to make a normal passport which is red color. So we have to have green color official passport only, and we must have official duty to travel abroad. For example, meeting or training course, so we can go travel. We can travel abroad at the time only. We can receive our official passport. After that, we have to return our official passport quickly back to the police headquarters. So for me, after my study in Australia, so 2020, I had to return my passport to the police headquarters. So after that, there were no meetings abroad because of COVID outbreak. So we had online meeting instead. So we didn't go foreign countries, and I didn't get the official passport. So I was trying to find a way to travel abroad officially. So finally, I could apply for my postgraduate study in Thailand, a scholarship for my postgraduate study in Thailand, and I could go to Thailand officially in May 2022. So that is what I was trying confidentially. So before that, before I leave Myanmar, my senior police officer, chief of police, the Ministry of Home Affairs, they seriously threatened to me that we didn't want you to study abroad, but we want to show the world, the ASEAN countries, and the world that we had cooperation with ASEAN countries or international, because the whole world, so especially Western countries, put pressure on General Min Aung Hlaing, cut international relations. So General Min Aung Hlaing wanted to show the world that okay, we send our police officer to international training like this. That is why they sent me to Thailand. Of course, they won't send me to Westerns because no trainings are offered by the Westerns after military coup. So they threatened me that okay, if I stood out for democracy, even I am in Thailand, I will be arrested easily and deposed, sent back to Myanmar quickly. And my passport was restricted, travel in Asia only. So I have two restrictions. One, official passport is difficult to apply for visa. Second, So in my passport, there is a statement that I can travel in Asia only. So it is impossible to apply for a visa to Western country. So they knew that as long as I am in Asia, I I they can arrest me easily. So they can get me back easily. So finally, with this official passport, I could come to Japan, and I became a convention refugee in Japan.
So I just want to clarify, did you become a refugee in Japan, or did you apply for refugee status before you went to Japan?
So when I was in Thailand, I tried to approach the UNHCR Thailand, but uh, finally I had to come to Japan and I had to apply refugee status in Japan by myself. So in Thailand, you might know that the UNHCR Thailand has some restrictions to save Myanmar refugee to the third country. So that is also an important case for Myanmar refugees in Thailand because they could not go to the country. So including my family now, even requested we have been requesting UNHCR Thailand, but they are stay not that easy. So that is why I applied for a visa and I came to Japan by myself. I applied for refugee by myself. I didn't have any experience or anyone know in Japan. So I wish to flee to Australia where I was supported by the Australian government for my master degree study. But in April 2022, so just okay, I would mention about at the beginning of 2022, the Australian government provided protection visa to CDM military personnel. So Min Aung Hlaing was so angry about that. That is why Min Aung Hlaing didn't release Professor Sean Turnell. And when Australian government requests Min Aung Hlaing, especially in April 2022, Australian ambassador in Yangon met Min Aung Hlaing and then requested to release Professor Sean Turnell. But Min Aung Hlaing threatened Australian ambassador that if Australian government provide protection visa to CDM military personnel, he won't release Professor Sean Turnell. So before that, a Myanmar police officer who received Australian award scholarship, she didn't return to Myanmar. So that made Min Aung Hlaing angry with that case. So I knew about that since I was in police headquarters. That is why I was patiently waiting for Professor Sean Turnell release to flee to Australia. However, my visa was refused, unfortunately, to Australia. So I had to come to Japan and apply for refugee visa in Japan.
And it's very unfortunate. And I think, because I live in Australia, so I find it very, very unfortunate that Australia has not done as much as I believe and as many people believe Australia could have done and should have done. Um, but I know that Australia has contributed. I know that Australia has made changes. But speaking in a personal sense, not less professional sense, I do feel that Australia has fallen short of her potential and her ethical obligations in this case. But
So for me, I always appreciate Australian government, which supported me, to get a stronger democracy mindset, and I wish federal democracy in Myanmar like Australia. This is very suitable democracy in Myanmar, and the Professor Sean Turnell release was one of my main priorities. So because I involved in his case deeply, that is why I knew that I was so worried about him until his release, his reunion with his family. So something like mission accomplished for me when I heard his release. And then I had to flee Thailand quickly after his release. So even though I could not flee to Australia, but I still believe that Australian government would save my family to Australia when Australian government knows about my story. So I'm still requesting Australian government to save my family to Australia at the moment.
I mean, hopefully they will do that. Um, but nevertheless, you've made it to Japan. You're in a position where you are able to advocate. Can you tell us a little bit about the activism that you have done since you've left Myanmar? What have you been doing to try and raise awareness, and how have you been trying to uh, bring about success in the revolution?
So firstly, once I arrive Japan, I contact NUG Japan office, and I collaborated with NUG Japan office to oppose the gender Min Aung Hlaing to stop dictatorship in Myanmar. So I gave my speech in the parliament in Japan. So I gave many interviews to Japanese media, so to speak out about the brutality of gender Min Aung Hlaing. He is he is not he should not be supported. So for Japanese government also should not support gender Min Aung Hlaing. And I also speak out not to join the military police force, and also to join CDM for the military personnel and the police officer. So now you can see more. So after my speech, my after my speak out video interview, so there were more police officer who joined CDM, or military personnel who joined CDM, or who surrender when they had no choice. So I am trying to destroy the gender military and police force regime because they are bad to our civilian. So now Min Aung Hlaing cannot get a new recruiters to protect Min Aung Hlaing and regime. So now he just, as you know, release this forced military service. So as much as I can, I am speaking out, to end the dictatorship in Myanmar. So there were democracy activities in Japan. So I also participated in these activities. And what I can do is, to speak out, not to join CDM for military personnel, and not to become a new recruiter for male line, for gender male line. So yeah, I believe that my voice is strong enough to shape, to give my message to Myanmar people, and especially the armed forces in Myanmar, because Myanmar police officer, they knew about me very well, and they get motivation from me, like someone who came from a normal policeman became a police captain by the age of 30 and received international studies. So they wanted me to be a chief of police in the future. So I also wish to be a chief of police in the future, so I could change the police force more than before. So I share democracy mindset when I was in Myanmar. So especially in the police training school. So I share human rights and democracy mindset to police officer, to Myanmar police officer. Yeah. So
Excellent. And so, what is that message? This is, I think, the crux of our interview. What is it that you are trying to say to them? What are you trying to convince them of? What do you think that you can say or do that is going to help to weaken the military?
So my message to the governments, to the world leaders, especially the democratic governments, is not to support the dictator Min Aung Hlaing because he has no mercy to Myanmar people. He is a bad guy. He, his dictatorship should be ended as quickly as possible because, as we know, Myanmar people are suffering a lot. So this is the end game, and this is the right time to support Myanmar democracy. So I would like to request the democratic governments to support Myanmar democracy more than before. So now you can see the junta Min Aung Hlaing and regimes are failing. Now they are using the brutal solution or strategy. Yeah, so they are going to kill many people more than before to maintain their power. So they don't care how many people die because of them, but they will stay using their bad strategy. So this dictatorship should be end quickly. So for the Myanmar people, I was be staying speaking out and request not to join the Min Aung Hlaing and regime. And for the Myanmar police officer and the military personnel, I urge them to join the CDM. So they don't they will not be killed by the opposition in the front line, so they can surrender. So this is the best solution, yeah, to weaken the Min Aung Hlaing and Min Aung Hlaing and regime military. Yeah.
And what is it that people outside can do? Because you you seem to have escaped. This is something that we see quite a lot. We see soldiers and police both. Uh, some of them defect to the PDF or the CDM. Some of them just leave and cross the border, go internationally. We've seen police units that have defected and just gone or deserted and have just gone to India or that have gone to Thailand. Um, from statistics that I've seen, the military's losses in the majority are people who left. Many people have died, but they are losing a lot of people who just want to leave. But you didn't have a passport. And the only way you were even able to escape and escape with your family is because you had this opportunity for study, which not many people do. What can be done to make it easier for police and for the military to leave if they want to leave, if they want to no longer be part of this genocidal dictatorship? What can we do to make that possible for them?
Yeah, absolutely. That is very um, important. So, firstly, our safety, our family safety are very important to free the gender regime. So, there are some Telegram channels by the NUG, National Unity Government, who help the CDM police officer or military personnel. So, they can bring the CDM police officer to ethnic armed groups area for their safety, or otherwise they can bring them to the border areas. So especially Thai borders area. So now you might know that there are many CDM military personnel are hiding in border areas. So mainly and mostly they do not have proper documentation. They have no passport. And now passport is very important to travel abroad. So including me, I got refused. I got a visa refused by the Australia because of the official passport, because of my statement in travel in Asia only statement in my passport. So I felt very sad. Like I was judged by that passport. So my background and my contribution were more important than that passport. But I didn't give up. So I found a solution that I could come to Japan. But for those who do not have passport, now they have to stay illegally in neighboring country. So I would like to request the neighboring countries, the government, ASEAN governments, not to send these refugees back to Myanmar, so not to arrest them unfairly because they are not criminals. So, for example, when I was in Thailand, I saw a news that some CDM Navy officer were arrested in Malaysia and sent back to Myanmar. So once they arrived back to the airport in Yangon, they were arrested, including their family, now in the prison. And we don't know their fate, their condition in prison. So, so please, Myanmar, please help Myanmar refugees who already arrived in different countries, including in Japan or in Thailand or in India. So that is the humanitarian assistance to Myanmar refugees. So the main problem maker is the Min Aung Hlaing and regime. Once they are removed, if there is no Min Aung Hlaing or their brutal regime, Myanmar can be a peaceful country. Like in the past, we were a peaceful country, a strong country, a rich country. But since the junta leaders administrate our country, we became one of the poorest country in the world. Poverty, bad economy, lack of uh, good food, accommodation, everything. So now Myanmar people suffer a lot. So if we don't end this dictatorship right now, the people of Myanmar will suffer more and more. So that is why we focus on the dictatorship. We focus on in any dictatorship, dictator Min Aung Hlaing and regime. So I believe that the democratic governments can do it together to save Myanmar and to save Myanmar democracy.
Excellent. And hopefully this will happen very soon. It seems that the revolution is succeeding, and all of the experts that we've interviewed recently have agreed that the revolution is succeeding. But uh, we've covered a lot of ground. We've covered a lot of different things today, and I'm really grateful to have you on, not only because of the things that you've accomplished and because of the courage and more so than courage, I think moral fortitude that you have shown in your career and your dedication to your principles, but also because understanding the police force is very difficult for us. The Myanmar police do not work like police that we are accustomed to in the West. And many people will never know, will never see the culture inside the police force, the culture of abuse and exploitation that happens within the police training, the impact that the military has on the administration of policing in Myanmar. These are vital insights, especially after the things that we saw the police doing after the coup. So I'm very grateful that you can share your time with us and that you can explain these things to us.
Yes, I also feel very grateful that I have a chance to share my sensitive story, to share my background, my profession, and about my family. So hopefully, people around the world can hear my voice, can understand my message that everything happened in Myanmar, the brutality is made by the dictator Min Aung Hlaing and brutal regime only since the past. until now. So whenever you see a bad news in Myanmar, especially during the democratic government, so the people around the world thought that our democratic government is responsible for that crisis, that conflict. But actually, the military, the junta leaders, they made it happen. So they are problem makers. They had no mercy. So I would like all of you understand the brutality of Myanmar junta, Min Aung Hlaing and regime. So until right now, so it is obvious right now, he is using his last strategy to make civilians fight each other. So please also share my voice and my message to your friends, to your family, and everyone you know, so to know more about Myanmar. So if there is no dictator Min Aung Hlaing and his brutal regime, Myanmar will be a beautiful, a peaceful country in the world as we used to be in the past. So now people of Myanmar are suffering a lot from the dictator Min Aung Hlaing. But people of Myanmar, we are kind. We are very friendly. So now we need help from all of us, from all of you. So please help us more and more for our life and for our democracy restoration in Myanmar. So please do not ignore to help us, and please also speak out about Myanmar democracy. So that is what I would like to give. This is my message that I would like to give all of the listeners.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. As regular listeners are aware, we often remind our audience about our nonprofit mission, Better Burma, at the end of a show. Truth be told, fundraising is hard work, and I can personally attest to the fact that it's really no fun to keep asking for contributions. Yet, the situation on the ground now in Myanmar is so distressing that we continue to do so on behalf of the Burmese people. What is most helpful at this time are recurring donations, which help alleviate both the stress and time involved in fundraising. If you are able to pledge a certain amount per month, our team can plan around having at least a consistent minimum amount to work within each month. If you would like to join in our mission to support those in Myanmar who are being impacted by the military coup, we welcome your contribution in any form, currency, or transfer method. Your donation will go on to support a wide range of humanitarian and media missions, aiding those local communities who need it most. Donations are directed to such causes as the Civil Disobedience Movement, CDM, families of deceased victims, internally displaced person IDP camps, food for impoverished communities, military defection campaigns, undercover journalists, refugee camps, monasteries and nunneries, education initiatives, the purchasing of protective equipment and medical supplies, COVID relief, and more. We also make sure that our donation fund supports a diverse range of religious and ethnic groups across the country. We invite you to visit our website to learn more about past projects, as well as upcoming needs. You can give a general donation or earmark your contribution to a specific activity or project you would like to support, perhaps even something you heard about in this very episode. All of this humanitarian work is carried out by our nonprofit mission, Better Burma. Any donation you give on our Insight Myanmar website is directed towards this fund. Alternatively, you can also visit the Better Burma website, betterburma.org, and donate directly there. In either case, your donation goes to the same cause, and both websites accept credit card. You can also give via PayPal by going to paypal.me/betterburma. Additionally, we can take donations through Patreon, Venmo, GoFundMe, and Cash App. Simply search Better Burma on each platform and you'll find our account. You can also visit either website for specific links to these respective accounts or email us at info@betterburma.org. That's Better Burma, one word, spelled BETTERBURMA.org. If you would like to give it another way, please contact us. We also invite you to check out our range of handicrafts that are sourced from vulnerable artisan communities across Myanmar, available at alokacrafts.com. Any purchase will not only support these artisan communities, but also our nonprofit's wider mission. That's Aloka Crafts, spelled ALOKACRAFTS, one word, alokacrafts.com. Thank you so much for your kind consideration and support.
Oba yarananda dayananga yaranaya dayanam boda yaranamano